Welcome to After Hours at TradersPost for January 24th, 2025. I'm Tom Hartman, joined by Mike Measure Twice Christensen. Tonight, we've got three hot topics lighting up the markets. First is Stargate. Is Stargate really the biggest AI project in history or just hype?
Or just a movie from the early 2000s.
Exactly. Or a wonderful TV show that Peter talks about constantly ad nauseum. Oracle's parabolic stocks suggest many are betting on the former. Next, has Trump coin and the White House's new crypto policy forever changed the game, or at least for the next 4 years? And finally, Solana keeps ripping higher, leaving the competition scrambling for a spot on the podium. Meanwhile, Thor Chain is bleeding out on the side of the road. The bell has rung, so let's dive in, because as traders, we don't just watch the news, we trade it. How's it going, Mike?
Doing well. Although now I feel like I just aged myself even more. I felt like Stargate was in the early 2000s when in fact it came out in 1994.
That's right.
When I was all of 11 years old.
Did you watch all the different Stargates? Like the Star Trek?
Just the first one. Just the classic Kurt Russell one. That's the only one you can watch.
Well, Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe were both just absolutely fantastic.
I'm going to upset some nerds out there that are very interested in the Stargate series and just say I never really got past the first movie. So maybe I'll give it a try.
All right. Well, I mean, the Trump presidency will give us trades, it seems, to the end of time. There's no end to the rocks that are being overturned, to the ideas that are being thrown out. I'm just trying to wrap your head around all the different opportunities that are out there, either to be long or short. To me, has been just been mind blowing. I can't even keep track of it all. Like I didn't even know the Trump coin came out until like the night it hit like $70 a coin or whatever.
And then it moved incredibly fast after that.
Right, exactly. But then this whole thing, so the first off, the idea here for Oracle, just to set this up. So is Stargate the biggest AI project in history or just hype? Oracle stock is soaring. Let's see what's really driving the move here, because we have a pretty interesting story here. Trump, I thought initially Trump had like allocated $500 billion to an AI development project. Like I thought it was government money used to sponsor this, and then it turns out, well, that's not the case. Not the case at all. It's he solicited a Softbank or a group of conglomerates of billionaires to come together and put money to this project. So before we actually start on that, let me just go ahead and play a little bit about it here. They were talking about it on the news. Second.
Stargate is a massive new AI infrastructure project that brings together President Donald Trump, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, Oracle's Larry Ellison, and OpenAI's Sam Altman. They're committing $500 billion over 4 years to build data centers, supercomputers, and the core tech needed to push AI to its next frontier. Here's how it all unfolds, and why it could reshape the industry. So, yesterday, January 21st, 2025, President Trump held a press briefing at the White House joined by Son, Ellison, and Altman to announce a massive private sector investment aimed at building the largest AI infrastructure project in history by far. Called Stargate, it kicks off with an initial $100 billion with plans to grow to $500 billion over the next 4 years. Oracle will build and operate much of the underlying system, tapping into its massive experience as a data center provider. Nvidia, of course, brings the GPU muscle that large AI models need. Microsoft is still in the picture, but there's a new twist. Microsoft used to be the exclusive provider of new AI capacity for OpenAI, but that exclusivity's been loosened so OpenAI can work with Oracle and others for this massive build. Microsoft.
All right, so there's the setup for that. What I'm finding to be absolutely fascinating here is there's two trades. There's two potential trades. The first is the just go long Oracle trade here, or which has been, I mean, just gangbusters. You're seeing the Oracle chart, which hasn't only skyrocketed because of this news, but has been on a tear now for quite a bit. Right?
For a while, yeah. What was interesting is there was this recent pullback from 196, 197 or so. And then just prior to the news breaking that Oracle would be involved in this project, it was already starting to find support and make its way upward. And then it gapped up on January 22nd as that news was announced.
Yeah, that's 25% up, which is pretty sweet here. So the people who've been placing this bet here, that because the idea here is that this is an infrastructure play, right? And so there's been a lot of talk about the software side of AI and what kind of companies would benefit from that. Microsoft is clearly trying to run away with that, but there's still the infrastructure that needs to be built. There actually needs to be data centers, and it actually needs to be processed. Now, Nvidia was like the stock that everyone was really talking about because of how quickly it moved and these chips, but people still need to lay the groundwork. And so Oracle here being put on the stage in front of Trump with Sam Altman and Softbank making this claim that, hey, there's going to be $500 billion worth of investment over the next 4 years or so. That's pretty significant, and it's led to this rise in the stocks. There is a wrinkle here, though, and that is
For Oracle?
for this whole story. There's two caveats. One, it's only started right now with 100 billion. So
Correct.
even though 500 billion over the next 4 years, that's a promise. We don't know if that's actually gonna happen. And like I was saying at the beginning, I thought this was earmarked from the government. The government was spending out this money. I was like, okay, well then it's government money is free money. It's going to be quote unquote free money. It'll be guaranteed.
Would certainly be $500 billion we do not have as a country. So that would require a raise of the debt ceiling in order to even fund something like that.
That's never stopped the American government from finding money to spend.
That is true. That is true.
But when we get to the Softbank side of things, right? Elon Musk put out a tweet saying Softbank doesn't have this money.
Yeah, they don't actually have the money. He said Softbank has well under $10 billion secured. I have that on good authority. Sam Altman whips back, wrong as you surely know. You want to come visit the first site already underway, but never really clarifies where these funds are going to come from. Now, looking at Softbank's balance sheet, it's true. They really don't have $100 billion just sitting around in order to fund this type of project. In fact, they're in debt well above their ears. And ultimately, I think it's unclear where the funding is going to come from, but Softbank has been known to be an institution that's capable of rounding up investors for big moonshot investments in the past.
So that's where I thought it was interesting just to take a quick look at the, I forget his name, Satya Nadella, the CEO
Nadella,
of
Microsoft.
Nadella, Microsoft. So he was asked this. So let me just play that clip real quick. Because I thought it was interesting. Obviously, he's not going to say anything bad here. The question is, can we read between the lines?
Stargate to build and grow AI infrastructure in the U.S.
Okay, so first, going to jump to where he's talking about the idea of OpenAI is sort of disentangling from Microsoft. This has been going on now for a couple of months now. Microsoft was on the board of for the OpenAI, and then this has been this whole turmoil. If you're following the story, people are not exactly sure, hey, what's going on? What's the actual relationship here between OpenAI and Microsoft? But because they had such a public display of unity, especially after Sam Altman was ousted as CEO and then reborn on the third day, rose on the third day. People are sort of like, okay, is this sort of like fly by the seat of their pants? Are they just saying whatever? Are they just catching whatever they can when they can? So let's just hear what he says here about the OpenAI distancing themselves from Microsoft.
OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle plan to commit $100 billion to start, potentially up to $500 billion over 4 years. Microsoft listed as one of the partners to the new venture. Joining us now for an exclusive interview is Satya Nadella, Chairman and CEO of Microsoft. Good morning to you.
Thank you so much.
And it's so good to talk to you in the midst of... Let me ask you this. So I talked to Sam Altman at DealBook just about a month and a half ago now, and he says, I don't think we're disentangling, to your point. He says, look, I will not pretend there are no misalignments or challenges. Obviously, there are some. On the whole, he said that he thinks it's tremendously positive. What are the things where there's not alignment? One of the things I noticed in one of your filings recently is you actually put OpenAI as a competitor on your list, which I thought must speak about your ambitions long term.
Yeah, I mean, more importantly, I think for us, one of the things that, in fact, Stargate is the answer is, Sam wants to continue with the scaling laws to build out more compute in order for him to train more models. And we have a ROFR, so he comes to us first. If we meet those needs, then we clear it. If not, he can go to these other providers. And so, therefore, I think it works out well for Sam and for us. So this was an adjustment, quite frankly, that we made in order to support both his needs, while at the same time keeping the integrity of what we wanted as the strategic value.
You're investing.
So that, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, sounds like the parents saying we're separated, but we still have a great working relationship for the kids. That's what it feels like to me.
Or maybe the takeaway I had on this conversation was that Nadella really sees OpenAI as a child he helped raise, and this child is making its way into the world on its own. The freedom that OpenAI has to make strategic decisions for its own growth are really up to OpenAI, and Microsoft's investment and ownership and equity stake in the organization is going to benefit them handsomely over the long run. So I think Microsoft takes that stance of saying, we don't need you to be tied into an exclusive deal from a technology perspective, only using us as infrastructure. At the end of the day, they may not even be able to meet the compute needs of OpenAI over the next 10 years. So the ability for OpenAI to grow and meet the demands that are coming in the future here is going to be incredibly contingent on how much compute power they're able to access.
Okay, so then the question is, let's see what I forget the guy's name. I always forget his name. The guy with the two eyes. He asked him specifically about Microsoft investment into Stargate.
You were investing $80 billion already. How much money do you ultimately put into this?
So this is where Microsoft is investing $80 billion in capital each year, and this year we're investing. And I'm not particularly in the details of what they're investing.
Okay, and so, but when you look at that $100 billion commitment, $500 billion potential, I don't know if you saw Elon Musk took to Twitter and said they don't have the money. The money doesn't exist, as if this is not really going to happen. What do you think of that?
Look, all I know is I'm good for my $80 billion. I am going to spend $80 billion building out Azure. Customers can count on Microsoft with OpenAI models being there everywhere in the world.
Okay, so we get his answer over there. So
we don't know. Nobody knows where the money's going to come from. That's my takeaway so far from what little I've researched here.
Well, whenever I hear an elite say, all I know is, right, speaking just like us common folks.
That's them saying, I don't want to get involved.
I don't want to get involved.
I don't want to get involved in this fight.
That's right. Because it makes me wonder, like, what would it have been to them? I don't know about these deals, but what would have been to them to peel off a few billion or whatever and be standing next to Altman and Larry and SoftBank and all that when Trump is speaking, in order to be like, hey, no, we're part of this whole thing. Give us some of those accolades as well. It doesn't seem like he wants to be part of that at all. Doesn't want to like touch it with a 10-foot pole. Doesn't even want to praise it in a non-committal way. Even He's just going. He's not saying, well, they're run by competent people, and I'm sure they'll be able to make their decisions or whatever. He's just saying what we're doing. We're putting $80 billion a year. If that's what they're doing, fine. That's what they're going to do. That's what it
Look,
felt like to me.
Tom, all I know is this is going to be a difficult hurdle for them to all get past in terms of the amount of infrastructure that needs to be created over the next 5 years. The models that are coming up from an OpenAI use up an order of magnitude more compute power than the models that we're currently using today. And inevitably, the demand on capital is going to be there. Where that's coming from, that's anybody's guess at this point. But it sounds like Sam Altman is very confident that not only has he secured the funding needed for this project, but they put an exact number on it, and they seem to know where it's going to come from.
So that's why, to me, it's like, I think that if I was going to put a bet on anything, I would say the flimsy part of it is just like it was put together for a press conference to make Trump look good. All right, that we can all say clearly.
Yeah,
you don't do a press conference if it's not to make yourself look good, unless you have to address something serious. So
sure.
we know that that's the case. And if did you watch the press conference?
I did not watch the press conference. No.
Super awkward.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing was strange put together. It almost seemed like they were on a moment's notice had to put this thing together, and now had to go talk about it. At one point, Sam Altman sort of like tries to get off the podium. He doesn't actually want to say anything. He defers the other two. It didn't even seem like he wanted to be there. So I was like, okay, this is all strange. And then Elon Musk comes out with his tweet. So I'm not saying short Oracle, because Oracle's been like on a tear well before this has happened. If you bet on the infrastructure for AI, part of that whole AI basket seems to be Nvidia, Microsoft, and Oracle. That seems like you could really go wrong with a basket like that.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have added Oracle before this news, but if they are a potential massive vendor to the compute requirements, then it puts them in the same category as that momentum play that I've had in mind with Nvidia since since it was clear that Nvidia was the winner on the compute side. It'll still be the Nvidia play, because it's still going to be Nvidia cards in those data centers with Oracle, and they're going to expand into clearly a new data center, which I don't know if you've seen on Sam Altman's Twitter. He has a new flyover post of the data center that's underway, that's supposed to come out in Texas in 2025. So, obviously infrastructure is already being built out. They're already investing. They're already heading in that direction. And the role that Oracle will play here, I think, could be very big for the company. But even without this, as usual, I like plays like this where the recent news is likely to get a reaction from the market. But the plays that I like are the ones where it's already a good buy, even if it doesn't happen. I'm not saying you have to short Oracle here. Definitely not, because in its own right, it was already a successful company, earning well, earning power is great, free cash flow looks good, and it's still undervalued as an individual security.
That's right. Actually should take a look at the options on these, because when it does its 20-30% pullback, those options are probably be pretty tasty, because the options on Nvidia were just too crazy. Premiums are too high.
Yeah.
So this might be actually worthwhile, especially if the deal falls away and it comes out 6 months from now, turns out it's not as solid as we think, blah blah blah, shares fall. Great time to get back in, because I love the idea of owning the rail lines versus the train station, like whatever the analogy is. I love the infrastructure play for it. All right, moving on. Has Trump coin and the White House new crypto policy changed the game for meme coins? The buzz is huge, but is it sustainable? Mike, I think it's safe to say that we didn't buy any Trump coin.
This is my problem. Every time we get news updates for anything that has flown up in the crypto space, I keep wondering to myself, why am I spending so much time analyzing futures and derivatives and the stock market? I don't get involved in crypto enough. So I missed the Trump rise, but I also missed the Melania coin rise.
That's right.
Which happened right afterwards.
Right after. Crazy. So after the last cycle, because in the last cycle I was going through all the meme coin stuff, and it was great. It was great. Made a lot of money and all that sort of thing, but it takes all your time. And then you have 9 out of 10 losers, maybe even more than that before you get the winner. So you already have to have a lot of money before you can place these bets. That makes sense. But I don't even care about the rise, and like We could talk about the this coin the way that it was like with Hawk2 when we talked about the Hawk2 coin, but that's not what this is. Let us not lose the significance of, well, let me play this clip from CoffeeZilla talking about the Trump coin first, and then we'll come back on the backside. All right, starts off.
But at least at first glance, it appears to be what it is. It looks like, which is a former president about to be president using the hype of their campaign to launch. I mean, it's so insane. I mean, it's funny in its insanity, but it's also gross in how cynical it really is. I mean, you have to understand, most of the people who actually buy this, like sincerely buy this, are like diehard DGen crypto heads who might make some money because they spend all day on Dex Screener looking for coins, and they caught this at 100K, or they caught this at 10 million, and now it's 13 billion, right? They're going to make money. Most people who this is actually targeted at, which is normies, who go, what's a Solana? What's I just learned about what Bitcoin was. What's a smart contract? Can I buy it with a credit card? Like the people buying this with a credit card? Roasted, dude. Game over. Obliterated. You're gone. You're done. You're never gonna. And then, by the way, of course, the third group, besides the snipers, the people, the degens who are looking for this, who are going to make money, the public's going to get wrecked, and then the other people are going to make money. Is obviously, the people who are going to make the most money are the insiders. Number one, the part of the Trump camp that knew this was coming out, knew the contract address, who got it right when it launched, right? Obviously. The other people who are going to make money are the insiders who are, it's not that clear, but let's just break down, because I think that's kind of intentional that it's not that clear. Here's the creators, here's the allocation. So there's 6 groups who are getting the rest of the 80%, and they're all labeled very obscurely, like it's just, you know,
I love this.
Creators in CIC Digital 1, CIC Digital 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's it. That's all the description we get, at least on this page. And you can see that they're not locked up at the start. They have a 3 to 12 month lockup duration, depending on the group. And basically, they unlock over 24 months. That's the punchline. So,
okay, so this to me means that this coin is so straight down the middle a Ponzi scheme. There's no MSTR wondering. There's no Safe Moon wondering, anything like that. This coin is a pump and dump. In fact, It's pitched as a pump and dump. If you go to the getTrumpmemes.com, which I can't believe is a website that actually is official from the government, from Trump exists, but it's like, you know, have fun with this freaking gambling coin. Okay, fine.
So you think it's more of a rug pull?
Not even a rug pull, because it's out in the open. Everyone knows what this is. It's play this game of musical chairs and see who, you know, just get in as early as you can and hope the game keeps going for the next for the next 4 years, which I just find to be fun. And then, you know, it's sort of fun to like, hey, I hold, you know, a bunch of like Trump coin. You know, it's sort of vestigial inside of your wallet, even if it goes to nothing. What I find to be absolutely fascinating, and for some reason, I'm not really seeing a lot of people talk about this, is that this, along with the new policy from the Trump administration about how to think about crypto, which we'll take a look at in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's sort of like open season now for anyone who wants to make a coin like this to do any, like the worry about doing something like this in the past is that somehow the SEC was going to change their rules and come after you.
Right.
Well, how can they do that? You'd be able to point to the Trump coin and be like, well, Trump's doing this. Does that give cover to people to be able to now just go crazy with pump and dump schemes all over the place, as long as they go, hey, we're following the same plan Trump is?
So Trump was actually challenged on this in a press conference and asked about the benefits that he would receive from this. And I think his response was largely along the lines of, oh, I don't even know. I know I launched it on Truth Social, but I don't even know where the price is. Can you guys tell me where the price is? Leaning into the press for where the current price was, which of course I find completely impossible that he doesn't know where the price is. But you're right. It represents a new way for politicians as well to leverage the crypto environment in order to gain beneficial gain from this. Now, this one's interesting because I tend to look at coins that are launched like this under the under tools like RugCheck to actually look for risks associated with projects. And what I find interesting about the Trump coin is that the main thing that they point out about it is that the top 10 holders hold more than 80% of the coin. Right. And that to me would represent a big concern, right?
Exactly.
What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing is that in all the videos I've seen about it, this is said. People know this. Mm-hmm. People know that it's a bunch of insiders, and they're just like, okay, but a bunch of people make money on it, and I might make money on it too. I know I could lose it all.
So CoffeeZilla's point is that it's a bunch of normies who are going to try to jump in on this on the centralized exchanges. Because of course, like Coinbase listed it almost a day after it was launched on Solana. So now it's on the centralized exchanges and tradable by the quote unquote normies, as he was describing, or what we'll consider the retail trading audience, and that they're ultimately going to be paying the price for this. Well, indeed, that does seem to be the case. The price just keeps tanking on both Trump and Melania coin.
Right. So, but the scam part of it, whenever you're dealing with a scam, and you let me know if you disagree, is that there has to be a level of dishonesty.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing any dishonesty here. Even for the people who are not used to the crypto space, they're just like, oh, this is fun. A lot of people are talking about it. Let me get in. Like when my friend contacted me and told me about it at midnight, hey, what's going on with this coin? He wasn't thinking this was a great long-term investment. I don't even hear anybody making that claim. Whereas a bunch of these other scam coins that we've seen, SafeMoon being a classic example, it was this idea of, no, you are invested in this coin. We're using the meme hype engine in order to generate revenue, which will then reinvest within the project to make it more valuable, more worthwhile, blah, blah, blah. This is promise that your purchase is in some way an investment, even if you're gambling. Sure. That's not being said at this at all. It's sort of like, it's done. This is the coin. Trade it at your heart's content, whatever you want to be doing. And that to me is very it's as honest as a casino is. And I go, that's fine. And I don't see that as a criminal enterprise if people are walking in. Now, some people know more about the odds of a slot machine than some of the other people, but I think both of them understand it's a gamble. And I think CoffeeZilla also makes a great point that this isn't even like the Trump meme coin or the Trump luxury watches or Trump steak or whatever, where there's an implied value. There is no implied value over here. Like they didn't launch this going, this is going to go to the moon and all. None of that. They just said, this is our coin. That's it. And
all that's true. But I guess we get back to the heart of the conflict of interest here, right? Trump using the presidency and his position of power in order to launch a meme coin right before he became president in order to gain some benefit from it, right? Now he can take the position that he's not even aware of where his financial position is in it. And the price has come down since then. And that ultimately there's some kind of agreed upon lockup period for the original holders over some period of time. You can sell in 3 months, you can sell in 6 months, and so on and so forth. All that's true. But I guess there's this second question I have, which is because of the anonymity of cryptocurrency, we can't tell who's actually participating in the trading activity that occurred right after it was launched. And there's one particular aspect of this story that's interesting to me, which is who's the person who bought $1 million worth of it right prior to it skyrocketing. Are you familiar with this?
No.
So let me share my screen and I'll show you this conversation that took place on Binance. Somebody bought $1 million worth of Trump coin in USDC, which would have been worth over $100 million almost immediately after that point. And so, I'm not sure what happened. I haven't traced this exact address back on the blockchain to see what actually happened with his position. Feel free in the comments to let us know if you guys are tracking this one as well. But I am kind of curious about these types of on-chain transactions that aren't necessarily tied to the original owners of the coin itself. Is that a transaction that we should be paying attention to? I'm not implying that it's Trump. I'm just implying that it is fascinating to me that there were a number of pretty large players that were able to get into the coin before it skyrocketed.
Well, let's say it is Trump.
Okay.
Right? Let's say it's the worst case scenario is Trump or the people close to him, and it was done for this pump scheme. Still, I have no real problem with it because when I take a look at how politicians make their money anyway, this is ironically the most transparent of the ways I've seen them make money. And I'd rather this than, oh, there's some lobbyist to be beholden to, or some pack or whatever it is. Here it's like, okay, launch the pump and dump scheme. It's pumping, it's dumping, done.
Then if you want it to be transparent, then my expectation would be that Trump would actually report the gains that he received from this. Then
I think that would be ball. If he did that, I think that would be very in Trump's style and baller. But well, I just wanted to read here because you just saw the Trump coin, but I just want to read the other side of it, which is the administration's position on cryptocurrency, because I think both these two together opens up the discussion for me.
sure thing.
So not to go through it all, but basically it's the policy that the White House is pushing, and so they want to protect and promote the ability of individual citizens and private sector entities alike to access and use cryptocurrencies for mining and validating. So that covers both proof of work, proof of stake, promoting and protecting the sovereignty of United States dollars. So they don't want they want like reliable stable coins. Protecting and promoting fair and open access to banking services, which has always been one of the stated goals for cryptocurrency, but means that we're not moving away from the banking system, but we're actually staying with the banking system plus crypto. Providing regulatory clarity and certainty built on technology neutral regulations, frameworks that account for emerging technologies. And so here they're calling later on for a bunch of research to be done over the next 3 to 6 months in order to make concrete policies at the SEC and the CFTC at the government. And then finally, taking measures to protect Americans from the risk of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, which threaten the stability of our financial system. I would never have expected a government, much less the United States government, to say anything like this or do anything like this.
It's pro crypto, and I love it.
It's pro crypto, and the fact that it is paired with this Trump coin, Millennial coin nonsense, craziness, I just go, oh, no one's, the Wild West is open now for the next four years. They're not coming for these people. How is there going to be any news stories about? So now I'm looking for the next Safe Moon. I'm looking for the next Hex. I'm looking for the next Moon coin, because we got 4 years of these projects are going to come out of the woodwork. I mean, how could it not? That to me is what the trade is. Now go crazy for me. Go crazy with the hype coins, because we're going to see things like we've never seen before.
Well, it does feel like, and particularly in watching how price action showed up on both Trump coin and Melania coin, I mean, obviously scanning the whole decks for these types of opportunities that are tied to any type of marketing event, any type of public figure is worth taking a look at, because there's some short-term swings to be had from them. And clearly market participants are already scanning the decks for these things. You know, the moment they end up getting launched, there's almost immediate capital being poured into them. That said, that's a little too risky for my appetite, but certainly worth watching from the sidelines. And I'll stick on the centralized exchanges for now. But the other thing that came out of this, though, is not just pro Bitcoin, pro crypto executive orders, but also it appears the SEC has issued a new note or a new initiative to make it possible for banks and other financial institutions to start custodying Bitcoin on behalf of their clients. And I think this is also a catalyst that we need to be paying attention to. This framework basically makes it possible for more custodian-based financial institutions to hold Bitcoin on behalf of their customers. And it's starting to lay the foundation for how crypto should be treated on balance sheets across the board. So I think the second aspect of this is it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of regulatory reform in accounting practices and how Bitcoin should be reported on balance sheets for publicly traded companies. So like we talked about this a few weeks back when we covered Michael Saylor on MicroStrategy, the accounting reforms that are coming for businesses that change the way they have to report cryptocurrency will improve, I think, the overall picture of what these businesses look like. So it's good to see the SEC moving in this direction as well.
It's so exciting because there are people who are a little bit more avant-garde trying to actually create businesses that anticipate this idea that crypto will become more readily acceptable within the United States, right? This whole idea, is it going to be banned completely? Is it going to be things for other countries? Blah, blah, blah. And so, like, we had seen something a couple of months back where there was this mortgage company that was offered mortgages, and I forget all the details of it, but essentially, part of the mortgage was uh, part of the arrangement required the borrower to buy a certain amount of Bitcoin that's held in escrow with the lender, and
Mhm.
then that was used like one to generate profits in order to pay back the mortgage sooner if Bitcoin went up, but also as a way to protect the lender from default, because they would be able to get that Bitcoin back. The way that the person had explained it. Explained in such a way that it was actually so much more profitable and safer for them that they can actually issue more mortgages. That people, when they were done paying down their mortgage, actually could have some extra money on the side. They weren't just at break even. It was this whole strange thing where everyone, it was like this win-win scenario. And I want to see more of these sort of experiments of crypto. I want to see employers start offering cryptocurrency as part for, in addition to a pay, so that the if the both the employer or the employee had some sort of like penchant for a particular type of crypto coin, um they could just get paid in that directly, and it was like some sort of benefit to them. Maybe it costs less for the company to do it, and you're buying it because you think later on it'll be worth more money. So then the company could hire more people because it's less on the dollars that they spend immediately for payroll. I
Mhm.
just want to see all kinds of new things, micro lending for people, so that people can lend back and forth, and you don't have to worry about what's going to happen when you have to report it to the government at the end of the year. All these different kinds of things.
Mm.
And so the reason why I like the Trump thing plus the policy altogether is that the range of possible outcomes are now, to me, as wide as it can get.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't imagine anything more broad accepted for the crypto world than this. And so for me, the trade is long all hype coins. And long, I mean, I want to go back into the safe moon pool. I want to go back into the hex pool and find as many meme tokens as I can find that have that engine behind it, because I see no reason not to.
So we have a comment here. Michael says, so it's the end of $Trump or Trump coin in general. That's a tough one to answer, but I think Tom's point here is right now it seems like the trade, especially across crypto, is to look for these types of blow up opportunities the moment that they launch. And as we mentioned earlier, there are people out there that are constantly scanning the blockchains in order to look for new tokens that are issued and see if they can tie them to any type of event that's occurring on Twitter or any type of a celebrity of any kind. Obviously, when Trump announced his news that he had launched this token on Truth Social, the traders immediately took to the dexes in order to start trading this. So maybe the end of Trump, but certainly not the end of hype coins or meme coins or this new ecosystem that attempts to allow people access to effectively marketing events. I'm not necessarily a fan of this. I don't know what it's actually producing. I'm a bigger fan of investing in companies, but if you're a fan of trading on short-term opportunities, this one seems like as good a one as any.
So let me pitch it this way. This is
Okay.
what I want to. So, because I want TradersPost to be key to this, because I don't want to be paying attention to all these coins. So I put money inside of my Kraken account, just a little taster, and I'm building out this little AI thing that's going to grab. It's an email account that's just going to get all the newsletters, all the Twitter accounts, all the whatever
Okay.
RSS feeds.
So follow the whole world. Okay.
Exactly. Let this AI bot just try to figure out what kind of meme tokens are there, and
Mhm.
then it can go ahead and purchase it in an automated way through the system, and I don't have to think about it.
I
That's what I
would probably do it the inverse of that. I would scan the major blockchains, Solana, or any of the blockchains where many of these meme coins are being launched. Right? Is it Uniswap is another really common one that people are
Yeah.
using? Okay. Scan the whole chain, every new address that's created, every new contract that's created, then save that address and then start to search all of Twitter, all of Google. Like the moment that address is now referenced somewhere else,
Right.
that makes it easier for you to discover who's actually talking about it, right? Because that's the only way this works. Is all these addresses get created all the time, but they don't necessarily have a ton of information about what they are until maybe later. But scanning a new address each time it's created and then figuring out where it shows up on the web after the fact, that seems like a much easier task.
Okay, there we go. That's exactly what I'm going to do. You know what? I knew there's a reason I do these shows with you, Mike. Always giving me these great ideas. All right. So on the heels of that, I want to touch on the last story here, which is Solana's on a tear. Right, it's leaving rivals
Speaking
in
of
the dust.
Solana, all right,
Right, exactly. Meanwhile, at the same time, Thor Chain, I don't know how much you know about Thor Chain, continues to slide.
nothing.
Right. How did the tables turn so quickly? So the Thor Chain was. I got into Thor Chain. I mean, I'm not in it now, but I was in it with the Rune coin around the time of Luna and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
And Luna had collapsed, and some of those Luna people were advocating for Thor Chain, for the Rune token. And whenever I can't really wrap my head around how they're making this thing profitable and work, I'm always like, something is very suspicious over here. And so just to show the chart here, um, actually, let me just read from the Rune article. So concerns about Thor Chain's debt, estimated at nearly 200 million, have triggered panic selling around Rune. Trading volume has surpassed 650 million and could intensify the downward pressure if sustained. With Thor Chain yet to make a public statement, Rune's price risks further decline below $2 in the short term. The price of Rune, the native token for the settlement protocol Thor Chain, has plunged by 30% in the last 24 hours. This decline comes amid speculation that the chain is no longer solvent. Ooh, I don't like hearing that. These rumors of potential insolvency have triggered panic selling, driving downward pressure on the token's price. With uncertainty surrounding Thor Chain's stability, this analysis reveals all the details about the situation of what could be next for Rune. So the reason this popped up is that whenever there's any question about insolvency, whenever I hear insolvency, I lost so much money on after the FTX collapse and Celsius and all that sort of thing that I try to pay very close attention to this.
Okay, so I'm going to try to say this delicately in case the Thor Chain team ever hears anything of this, but I cannot tell you how excited this makes me. And I'm gonna throw out a hot take on this because you know that I'm a fundamental investor. I like seeing when the market responds well to fundamentals, and for the longest time, I've not really been convinced that the cryptocurrency market ties to fundamentals. What this is telling me is that holders or investors, whichever phrase you want to use to describe those who are investing their capital or putting their capital into a cryptocurrency over a long period of time, are expecting that the fundamentals remain strong for the project. In this case, there's so much debt associated with this project that it's actually causing investors to flee the project, despite the fact that in the past, cryptocurrencies could be abandoned by the project maker altogether, or they could just be a meme coin that was launched on a DEX, or it could be abandoned by the original founder. You know, I mean, what was it? Litecoin many years ago. The founder was pretty much like, yeah, I'm just not really working on it anymore. But it still circulates as a token that people take seriously. It's still one of the top market cap coins. And unless anything has changed, I remember watching an interview with him where he basically had just said, no, I'm just not really going to work on the project anymore. I don't know how much has changed for Litecoin, but it's just one of many examples where many cryptocurrencies rise in value despite the fundamentals not really being tied to it. And however we want to measure those fundamentals, it could be based on the project strength or its commit rate or how big the team is, maybe how many transactions are taking place on chain, global impact. Like there's all these things we could look at. In this case, this actually is promising to me that we are getting closer to a world in which you can now tie fundamental aspects of a project to its market price.
That's right. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And that's why I felt pretty good about when I looked at the white paper for it, when we were actually talking about it and the idea that they were going to basically build a network, or part of the coin was shorting Ethereum and Bitcoin. I'm not understanding how, I didn't understand at the time how shorting the two most popular cryptocurrencies was going to lead to you being successful. Like I just didn't understand how that was going to work. That's to me, if someone said they're building their whole business on shorting SPY on NASDAQ, I go, okay, I'm not really interested in the next thing you're about to say, because that to me doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. But the coin kept rising. I was like, okay, maybe I just don't understand. But I sold off the whole thing, and now that I see it crash, I think that's pretty interesting. On the other side of it, so the reason I want to talk about the Solana thing on the heels of the Trump coin is that Trump launched on Solana. The Trump coin launched on Solana. It didn't launch on ETH, right? Now, if you remember, the Ethereum token was the darling of the last cycle because that's where you had all the DeFi, that's where you had all the meme coins, that's how you had all these pump and dumps, that's how you had all these projects because of the programmability of the platform. It just exploded in popularity. But we complained all the time about it's too expensive, it's too slow, it's not secure, and it just kept rising and rising and rising and rising and rising.
Sure.
And along the same lines of what you were just saying for Thor, they're in a sense suffering this go around by being outpaced by Solana because Solana's cheaper, Solana's faster, and in some ways is it has a different level of security. And all the new meme coins, the big ones, are all on Solana now. And that was like the claim to fame for Ethereum. I know they wanted to talk about we're the world computer and all that. Okay, I hear you. But when we were all saying that people were on the platform spending $100 per transaction or whatever because of the meme coins, that's why people were there.
Right.
And now there's all this infighting, all this craziness that's going on with Ethereum blockchain. It's hard to tell like what's going to happen in the future with the foundation, blah 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 blah. And Solana's eating the lunch, and so it's really giving me a new a sense of appreciation for the meme coin metric. Like I discounted it. I didn't really care about the meme coins, but because I was like, that's not a killer app. I want a killer app in blockchain. I'm not getting the killer app. But it turns out this meme stuff, at least in this beginning phase, is an indicator if that coin, if that layer one coin or whatever, could take off. Because we're not hearing about the other layer ones that have a bunch of meme coins on them as well. We hear it about an Alpha Solana. We heard last time about Ethereum, and the cycle before that, they were trying to do it with like Bitcoin forks, right? To be the meme stuff. So for me, the trade is I want to find the platform that will be the next meme coin factory that now is trading at $1. That's what I'm desperately looking for because I look at the Solana chart that just looks beautiful, and when it was at its lows, I go, okay, at the next cycle when it fall, I want to see where they had better technology for the meme stuff and start putting money putting money over there. That's me buying the bottom. I get that.
Sure. No, I hear what you're saying. So you're looking for the new competitor to Solana, but then I often wonder why not wait for the end of this cycle and just load up on Solana the next go round?
Well, that's what people thought about Ethereum, and Solana ate its lunch.
It's true.
So,
Good point.
So it's like, I mean, significantly.
Right.
So it's like, wow, it sort of feels if you're in the market, and this is how I feel. If I'm in the market, I want to get I'm trying to ride the hype. I'm not there because of some long-term blah, blah, blah. I'm going for the hype. Second best doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
Like
so then to qualify all the projects that are going to start between now and 2 years from now, I think ultimately you'll have to look at adoption as being sort of the qualifying factor, right? To get in early enough in that early stage, unless you're talking about taking bets across this whole universe of potential platform competitors.
Well, for the ones that are trying to be the meme coin factory, if they're either explicitly,
right, that's what I mean. Yeah, let's say there's 40. Let's say there's 100.
All 40.
You're exactly right. So you want to bet on all of them. Got it.
That's right. I see no reason not to, because I was like, okay, because technology wise, I'm not going to say that. Let me just end it this way. Solana, you guys, I promote Cardano all the time. I think Cardano's wonderful, fantastic, but clearly, price wise, you guys have knocked it out of the park for performance. I have some Solana. I don't have as much as I could have had, paying attention to the markets, and it's actually just soared. So kudos for the people who've held it. It should keep running for this entire bull market for whatever that's worth. So we could see $500 on Solana. I don't know. I don't know the metrics on it, but we're not at the end of the cycle yet. It doesn't appear, and so good job on that. But I would be jumping off the boat at the top of the cycle as soon as I could, because
sure,
it should go straight down.
One thing I probably would point out about Solana, and part of what I think could also be contributing to the rise that it's experiencing right now, is really kind of a recovery from the impact the FTX had on its price. From peak to trough, I think it had ultimately experienced about a 96% drawdown from peak in that period before the FTX debacle happened. And then since then, we've seen this effectively rise to those recent all-time highs. So I think the next question I have in mind about Solana is whether that was the full recovery of the coin's ultimate demise. To get back from 96% is obviously a huge run up that you have to go through, and that could explain some of its recent outperformance relative to other cryptos.
Well, because this is where the meme coins are at, there's a lot of, there are people in my lives, if I'm going to go by the Warren Buffett, talk to taxi driver sort of idea, when the people around me who are not in the crypto space, they're talking about Solana, and I don't hear them talk about Ethereum anymore, and they're like, how to get a Phantom wallet, how do we get on? Then I go, okay, like, they're up more than just because it's a recovery from the drop from the previous high. There's clearly momentum here,
Okay.
and if I always go with my best friend, when he talks about it, I know the top is, we're 6 months away. Like, there's still way more room to go.
Sure,
And
fair
he's
enough.
all about the Solana. So he sees Solana, he sees Trump coin. All he has in his head now is, now I got to get as many Sol as possible. Obviously, he wants to buy Solana now at all-time highs. So that means we have another at least 50% or whatever in this bull market.
Okay.
When he's fully invested, he goes, "Oh my God, I don't have scrounge as much as I could. Now it's time for me to sell."
All right, we'll listen to the cab drivers then.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's it for this week's After Hours. Will next week be all Trump trades all over again? Who knows? Probably, because every press conference seems to be an opportunity for placing calls on some asset. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. If you guys know any good RSS feeds or Twitter accounts to follow for what's like the equivalent of the Nancy Pelosi trade tracker, I need the Trump tracker, because these Trump trades are just blowing Nancy Pelosi out of the water. I'm going to be paying attention to it. But until then, I will be on Twitter, on Blue Sky, trying to, scrounge up all the information that I can for next Friday. We'll be back on next Friday, except for After Hours, here on Tuesday for office hours for Traders Post, and next Thursday for Blueprint for anybody who's interested in automated trading. As always, Mike, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I wish you a great weekend.
Cheers, everyone.